Hi, welcome to episode 2 where I'll reveal what I did to make this rusty stringing machine from episode 1 operational. While I'm at it, I decided to do a review of this Gamma X ST stringing machine. If you're wondering what this machine looked like or what I had to do to revive and restore it, check out episode 1. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so I mentioned in episode 1 my goal was to revive and restore the machine. And in this episode, I did make adjustments, repairs to this machine, mainly adjustments to make it operational. So the first area, it was the string clamp base, and I'm gonna go ahead and take out the clamp stop so I can remove the string clamp base. And I wanted to show you what was happening when I noticed this on episode 1. When this locking lever came into the lock position, it went all the way over to the other side. Typically you want that lever to go about maybe halfway or slightly over, and so the goal was to get it to about there. But whenever you adjust the string clamp rails, you want it to be able to move freely but still have the ability to stay securely in place. So I got both of these string clamp bases a little bit beyond the halfway mark, but they're now holding, and they can also move freely. The second area that I had to adjust was the calibration. So I wanted to show you how I set that up on this machine. So basically what I had to do is I actually removed the Diablo in this case because it was getting in the way for my tension calibrator. But I have the two clamps lined up so that it's ready to be pulled in this configuration here. But I just wanted to show you it this way so you can see how it's lined up. I'm going to lock the two clamps in place. Then now I have it perpendicular, the turntable to the tension head. I'm locking the turntable down here. And I'm going to get my calibrator and just insert it into the teeth of the clamp and then lock these two clamps down. And then I'll go ahead and take calibration. Right now it's set at 0, but basically that's what I was doing to get the calibration down to the right amount. It was actually 3 pounds higher, so what I had to do was bring it down about that much. So I did it at 40, 50, and 60, and right now it's spot on. One of the things I mentioned in episode 1 is that I would string a couple of rackets on this Gamma machine and compare it to my Prince Neos 1000, which is a very reliable manual lockout machine. So the readings that I took the dynamic tension reading with the ERT 300 and the string bed deflection with my Babolat RDC. So let's take a look at the chart here. And this racket is the, again, Prince synthetic gut 17 gauge at 52 pounds. And if you look at the second column there, you'll notice in the blue, the DT came out at 31 and the string bed deflection at 48. Then when I strung it on the Prince Neos 1000, the DT matched up at 31, but the string bed deflection came out higher by 4 units at 52. So what I did is I took another racket and I strung this one up with polyester strings at the same tension at 52. And if you look at the blue row right there, the DT matched up at 31, string bed deflection at 50. But then again, when I strung it on the Neos 1000, this time the DT was increased by 1 and the string bed deflection at 53. So although the string bed deflection didn't match between the two machines, just seeing the DTs within 1 unit was good enough. And in my opinion, I would consider this a match. I thought I would go over the basic features of this machine, especially if you're new to stringing and stringing machines. So this is a tabletop manual lockout machine. So you can see that it's sitting on a table. The weight of this is about 50 pounds, so it's somewhat portable. And I'll talk about the height later, but basically it's sitting on a table. So this machine is a manual lockout, meaning that it's based on using a spring here that will sense the tension once it's reached. So what you're going to do is set the tension here, at whatever reference tension you want to string your racket at, it'll you crank the tension head back, and when it reaches the tension, this spring will sense that, and it's gonna pop this lever out, so you can no longer crank this tension head back. So that means you reach the desired tension, and you're gonna clamp off here, and then when you're done clamping off, then you just release the tension, and you just return the tension head back to its original position. The mounting system is a 6-point mount. So here I have the racket ready to be mounted. What I did is I placed it in the support arms, and basically the 6-point mount meaning is that it's touching the racket at 6 points. So what you're going to typically do is adjust the side support arms, which is coming in at in this case at about 4 and 8 o'clock, and on this side at 10 and 2. And you always want to get it about finger tight. You don't want to over tighten it. And then you're going to bring in the billiards at the 6 and at the 12 o'clock area right there. So you have a very secure racket once it's mounted in this 6-point mounting system. The clamps are swivel clamp bases with diamond dust coating on the string clamp teeth. So what that means is that the swivel clamps can rotate a full 360 degrees. And the diamond dust is a coating that's in the teeth of the clamp that provides a little bit of texture, so that when the clamp clamps down in the string, it'll hold the string better because of the texture. This machine comes with a tool tray, so I'll turn this around so you can see it. And it's big enough to put all your essential tools in it. These tools here are my tools. It didn't come with the machine. But when you purchase a new one, it does come with the a straight awl, a pathfinder awl, pliers, and the hex wrenches. The hex wrenches were used to adjust the machine. So there's 2 of these drawers here. These are the hex wrenches and some other extra parts that go onto the machine. Next, I wanted to go over some of the things I noticed when I was stringing up the 2 rackets on this machine. And earlier I mentioned how this should be set up on a table, and you never want the machine to be sitting down too low. So I have an example here where this racket, when mounted, if you notice, is slightly higher than my elbow, and that's actually ideal for any situation. So this table is about 2 feet in height, and then I have the machine on top of it. I'm 5'6", and this racket is sitting at about 44 inches off the ground. So it just happened to be ideal for me. You never want the racket too low though, because then you're going to end up straining your back. If it's slightly higher, it's probably better than slightly lower. Now, as far as the position of this machine on the table, I have it here in the corner for a reason. And sometimes what I'd like to do is I like the ability of having to come behind the tension head. If I had this set up in the middle of the table, I could never really reach this side. So, and for the reason that when the tension head reaches the tension, I like being able to push this in with my thumb from behind the tension head. If it was set up in the middle of the table where I couldn't get behind the tension head, I would have to bring it in with my finger this way. I guess that's all right. It's just that I'm so used to having the Prince Neos 1000 and the ability to be able to push it in with my thumb. Just a personal preference. The other thing I noticed is these support frame support posts. It does have a adjustment here where you can loosen it and bring it in and out. What I did is you want to have it centered. So, and there's no markings here where you can see how far in or out you have it. So what I had to do is I adjusted these frame support posts so that it would fit about the size of a 100 square inch racket, since that's probably the most popular racket that you'll be stringing. And what I did is I got a ruler and I just measured the distance from this slot here to the where the post is, and just made sure that this distance here is the same as here. So that way this the racket is always centered on these within the frame support post. Here's something interesting that I found about this machine. It has this little button here that can be pushed in or pushed out. When it's out, it's called a travel stop, and what it does is that it keeps the tension head from going too close to the frame. Now, if you want it to go even closer, then you can press that, release that spring here, and then and that'll allow the tension head to go in closer. But the reason why I like this feature is that it's always going to place the tension head at the same distance whenever you're pulling each string. And I think that's really important in terms of consistent tensioning. So, and I also did a video on my Prince Neos 1000 where it doesn't have this, and how you always want to set the tension head pulling from the same spot on the arm here. All right, so you can see the this travel stop here button. It's right now pressed inward, so that'll make the tension head stop at that point. But what I did is I brought this handle or this crank to the point where it's about a little bit past 12 right there. So every time I pull tension, when I bring the racket around, it's going to end up right here where the travel stop is. But I'm always going to pull tension with this crank already up. So for me, it's just easier to just have it at this position versus having it down here and having to crank it up. And again, it's just a personal preference, but part of it is stringing on the Prince Neos 1000. That's something that I've always done whenever I started to crank the tension head back. Another feature that's nice about this machine that's not on the Prince Neos 1000 is this cone shape thing, a double cone thing. It's called a Diablo. And what it does is that when the string comes through the frame and you're about to put in a tension head, you wrap the string around here and then send it through the tension head. And this gives it a little bit more secure a grip on the string. And what it does, it reduces the stress that goes into the tension head itself. So it does help. What I wish this Diablo had was a little bit wider plate here, because what was happening is as I was pulling the string through, sometimes it would get caught on the outside of this cone. But if this metal piece was the same width as this wheel or this Diablo here, this cone-shaped part, I don't think that would be a problem. But yeah, it's just me being picky. One last thing I noticed about this machine is the lock for the turntable. So you can see there that this is a knob right here. I noticed in the manual, and this one's dated 2012, that the locking for the turntable is actually a lever that engages itself into a gear that's at the bottom of the turntable. So I'm not sure how old this machine is, but this one definitely doesn't have that. I did want to add, after I strung these two rackets on this machine, I rechecked the calibration, and I'm happy to report that it remained spot on. In summary, I enjoyed stringing on this machine. I especially appreciated the 6-point mount and the swivel clamps on this machine. Since we're on the subject of stringing machines, here's something I often get asked: what is a good basic stringing machine? Well, here are 3 main features that you should look for in a machine. 1, a 6-point mounting system that securely holds a racket in place and avoids distortion. 2, you want string clamps that will not slip when locked in place, and string clamps that can hold a tension string without damaging it. And number 3, in my opinion, you should always invest in a manual lockout tensioning system that pulls efficiently and consistently. So if you're thinking about getting into stringing and buying a machine for the first time, stay tuned to the end of this video to learn how I may assist you. Although I originally planned to sell this machine, now I think I'll hold on to it to use for my stringing lessons. Thanks for watching, happy stringing, and let your machine play. Are you thinking about learning how to string to save time and money, and your next step is to buy a stringing machine? Maybe you have a cheap stringing machine and you want to upgrade to something more efficient and accurate. Or let's say you have a manual lockup machine. You're really getting into stringing and now you're ready to invest in your first electronic machine, but you don't want to spend over $6,000. So here's where I may help you in your stringing machine journey. I recently joined Unique Sports as a sales rep for Tourna Stringing Machines. To learn more about their offerings, check out the PDF links down below. The good news is I can offer you wholesale pricing if you order from me. So if you'd like to inquire about the shipping cost in the US, send me an email at amstringing@gmail.com. Aloha!